Hi. All right, I'm going to probably break every rule about good video production in making this short little video about the One Button Studio. But instead of taking a lot of time writing a script and all of that, I just want to get something together so that you can see it and see how cool the One Button Studio is. So I'm holding this camera by hand. I don't have a script. What else? There's no special lighting going on here. I'm just standing in my office and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the point is, I wanted to give you a look at the One Button Studio and take you through the process so that you'll be able to refer to it when you work on your own projects in this workshop. All right? So follow me. All right, so here we are in the One Button Studio. It's room 235. The door is always locked, but if you want to use it, we'll make sure that you can get in and use it. So your best bet to do that is to actually contact me. You can email me at jlock004@plattsburgh.edu. And we will schedule a time when you can get into the studio. At some point in time, I'm hoping that it becomes totally independent, but for now, we're still new enough in the system where I would really like to be down here to make sure that everything turns on the way it's supposed to and that you have the best experience possible. So, with that in mind, let me give you a quick tour of the equipment here. You'll see when you come through the door that there's a computer set up right on the desk. Everything you need pretty much to operate this system is right here. You'll see that next to the desk, next to the podium, there is a One Button Studio Quick Start Guide. You should also have a copy of that for download in the workshop. And it goes through 7 steps that will allow you to actually record and walk out of the room with your video. All right, so you've got a keyboard and the actual machine is all tucked away in the podium. It's just a standard Macintosh computer with some cool software that makes it do what it does. You'll also see that there's a USB port here. It holds up to 3, but all you have to worry about is one USB flash drive, and that's the one that you'll be transferring your video to. You'll also see the magic button. This is what makes this a One Button Studio. It's not that you only click it once, but it is the only button that you have to click. You have to click the mouse, you have to do a couple other things depending on what you want to do, but in theory there's only one button. Up top you'll see you have a video camera, and look, it's on. It's always on. So I'm recording myself on this little handheld camera while I talk into the other camera. It's not recording because I haven't gone through all the steps. You'll also notice that in front of the camera is this ring. This ring is a special light that lights green and allows you to use a green screen just like the weatherman does, and we'll get into that in a couple seconds as well. You'll notice around the room we have 3 lights. We have the main light, we have a filler light, and we have a backlight. None of those are on now, but we'll take care of that in just a second as well. Oh, and getting back to the green screen light, in order to turn that on or off, there's this weird looking box here, and it has a tiny little switch right there, and if you slide it over to the left, you'll see that the light lights up blue. All right, and if we slide it over instead to the right, it lights up green. All right, and the interesting thing is, if you look at where it's shining against that gray screen, you don't see it as green or as blue. Well, you see a little more of the blue than you do the green. But if you look into the camera monitor, it's very green. See that? That's pretty cool technology. You'll see that you'll see how that works later on. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off for right now. We don't need it at this point. All right, the other thing I want to do is jiggle the mouse. I always wanted to have a rock band called Jiggle the Mouse. And that brings the system to life. You'll see, and this is covered in the quick step guide, but you'll see that it should be on the front of the screen. You'll see this window here that allows you to turn the lights on. And if it isn't already set to action groups, you want it to be. See that? Action groups. And then you want to highlight lights on. See that? Okay. Once you've done that, you just hit the execute all button down here. All lights on. And I don't know if you could hear that or not, but the computer actually tells you all lights are on. And see what happened in the meantime is the 3 lights came on. Okay? All right, so the next thing you need to do, you can click on the big blue screen here, the Welcome to the One Button Studio screen, and it tells you 3 steps here. The first being insert your drive into the dock to begin. The next, press the button to start and stop recording, and the third is remove your drive when you're finished. Okay, we're all set and ready to go. I just need to drop the flash drive into the port. So here I go, pushing it into the port and watching the screen to see that the camera is actually working. See, I'm waving at the camera and it's actually showing up. So it says press the button to begin recording. I push the button and it begins counting off. Okay, so as you can see, the camera is rolling as I walk into it, but that's okay because we can always fix that in post-production, and we'll learn about that in a later module. Okay, so you'll also notice that when you first come into the studio, it's already furnished with a table for you to sit at. It gives you something to rest your arms on. If you have some materials, maybe you've got a book you want to talk about, you can have it sitting in the frame or out of the frame. If you don't need the table, you can simply slide it forward about 3 or 4 feet. That takes it out of the frame, and now it's just you in the chair. You can also move the chair out as well, and then just stand in the picture, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move the table back in because I like something to lean against. It also takes a little bit to get used to the fact that the image that you see in the monitor is reversed. What I mean by that is it's different than what you see when you look in the mirror. So when you point this way in the mirror, it points the same way. On the monitor, it points exactly the wrong way. It also means that what you're looking at in the monitor is what everybody else sees when they look at you, not a mirror image. Just a little interesting fact there, fun fact. So okay, so there's a microphone right above us, and as long as you're speaking with a reasonably loud, but you don't have to shout, but you want to speak a little louder than you do when you're just having a conversation with someone else. For a couple of reasons. It's easier for the microphone to pick it up. It's also more engaging for your audience because although you want to create the illusion of a conversation, you also want to be in charge of that conversation. And speaking a little louder than you would if it was a two-way sort of thing means that you are in control of the conversation. Okay, so there's that. Now, I mentioned the fact that we have a green screen available for use here, so I'm going to go, I already showed you how to turn it on, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on. Oh, that's blue. I prefer green. If you happen to be wearing something green, it's actually going to make a hole wherever that green is. You'll be able to see through it to whatever image you superimpose in the background. Oh, one other thing. I should also be saying that I especially when you're using the green screen, you want to turn off the ambient lights. They don't cause a problem if you're just recording against a gray background, but when operating the green screen, you want it to be as green as possible. Okay, so I was saying, if you happen to be wearing something green, and that'll be a problem. So you can then switch over to the blue screen and try that instead. Either way, it's going to give you a pretty good green screen effect. Maybe not what you can get at a television studio, but it's not too bad. The other thing I want to point out, in post-production, now I'm going to throw some images behind me as I talk, and some may be distracting, some may be okay, some might be funny, whatever. But while I'm doing that, I also want to explain to you why I'm not in the center of the screen. This weekend, here's a little piece of homework for you. This weekend, catch an episode of 60 Minutes or any other interview show that you might like more. You can kind of get the same approach from watching the news as well. You'll notice that when someone is being interviewed, normally the cameraman does not put them in the center of the screen. And what this does is it actually creates a hollow space. Let's see if I'm getting, yeah, even though it doesn't feel right in the monitor, it looks right on the screen here. It creates an empty space that the person who's watching you actually subconsciously puts themselves into, even though you're not looking at that empty space. But of course, you will notice in interviews when the cameraman is talking, the subject is actually talking to the reporter who's off camera. And when you do that, you really do get the effect that you're talking to somebody next to or just over here. So that's one reason to do that. It creates more of an engaging illusion. If you want to have words that accentuate what you're trying to say, you've got space. You can put them right next to you here as you're speaking, and then they go away when you're done saying them. All that happens in post-production. And of course, if you really want to be flashy, you can actually motion to them and say, in Unit 1, we will discuss yada yada. In Unit 2, we'll discuss more of yada yada. And in Unit 3, we'll tie it all together with something else. So, it's a nice effect. A lot of students kind of chuckle at it, but they remember what you've done, and more importantly, they want to see what you do next, and they won't necessarily turn you off before they've seen what you do next. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is how you use the studio. The next thing you're going to see is how to shut down everything, and then I think we're done with this one. Thanks. Okay, so we're all finished recording now, and so I'm going to push the one button again, and it says writing to your device, and it'll say that for a while until it finishes writing to your device, and then it says that the session is complete and you can remove your device. Okay, but before you move your device, you're probably familiar with this by using flash drives in computers, but sometimes they bark at you if you pull them out without dismounting them first. So on a Mac, the way you do that is up here in the corner of the screen, you'll see an icon representing your drive, your flash drive. Just drag and drop that down to this little eject icon, which if you roll over it says it's the trash, but don't worry, you're not trashing anything. You're just setting it up so that you can pull out your flash drive without any trouble. All right, and once you've done that, a couple more things you need to do before you're ready to leave. You're going to want to make sure that you turn off the green screen light, and of course you do that just the same way you turned it on, with this teeny tiny little switch there. Okay, lights off. Be sure to put your drive in your pocket so you don't leave it around. The other thing is to click on the window that says Sample House behind the one button window. That brings back the device that controls, the application that controls the lights, okay? So make sure that it's set on action groups, and the action group name that you want is all lights off. Make sure that's highlighted. Then come over here where it says, where it says execute all. Click that. It says all lights off. The computer actually says that. You don't have to read it. And you can see our studio lights are off now. Don't worry about the camera. The camera stays on all the time, as does the computer. It will go back to sleep after a few minutes. You're ready to go now. Last thing you have to do is make sure that the lights are off to the room and the door is locked behind you. If the door isn't locked or doesn't lock behind you, you can either email me, John Locke, or you can go to the front desk and let them know and somebody will come by and lock it up. All right? Thanks.